Hello, everybody. Dobar dan. There's still the presentation missing? No, this is the wrong one. I was just wondering what I'm supposed to present right now. Ah, this looks good. This looks like my presentation. Is it possible to get it on this screen too? I think you have to click on projektima or something like that. Okay, so maybe I just start with introducing myself. My name is Nico Wüst. I'm from Stuttgart, from the branding agency STRICHPUNKT. I'm a unit lead there and head of design systems, and I've been there for quite a long time. Oh, now we get a picture. Perfect. Okay, so this is the image for that. And I'm just one of a lot of people, a lot of talented people in Stuttgart and Berlin. And I just give you a little insight in our agency, because I think most of you might not really know STRICHPUNKT. We are a branding agency, so I'm quite of the exotic guy here in this round. You can see a little bit how it looks like. Okay, and some numbers about us. We are about 140 people. We are part of the Mighty Group, a group of agencies where 404 is also part of. And we are in Stuttgart and in Berlin. I'm from Stuttgart. And we are quite one of the biggest branding agencies in Germany. And these are some clients that we work for. It's basically not just a project, but these are all clients where we are the main branding agencies and developed the brand. So big one brands, smaller brands, Now it stopped somehow. Okay, and what we do is we really do branding. We do it from the core, from the heart. We develop brands from a strategy point of view, to a design point of view, to an implementation point of view. And branding is also a little bit something, it a little bit hurts, you know. And if you look at that cows, that's a little bit where the name branding comes from. It's from branding really the cows, to differentiate for the cowboys, to differentiate between this is my horse or my cow and this is yours. So it's about differentiation. And if you even look closer back in the history, when you look for the coat of arms, this is also something like a logo, where it's important when you are on the battlefield, you know, this is the enemy, this is the friend, where to shoot at. So this is also a little derivation where branding comes from, actually. And in our days, it's also about differentiation. Sometimes it's really messy. I think Dino showed us some really cool examples, but in most of the times, I would say it's really messy and it's really loud. And I think this is not the perfect way of doing branding. And but it's there, and that's what most people think about when they hear about branding. And I think Red Bull, for example, it's not a project of us, or we don't have anything to do with Red Bull, as I show several examples in the presentation that are not from us, like this one. I think they're doing a really good job in branding, because this is more, it's not about selling an energy drink, it's more selling a philosophy or a feeling or an attitude. Red Bull gives you wings, and I think this is the perfect example where you can see what happens when somebody is getting rings. So I give you some insights about we shape brands in the digital age, because our job quite changed a lot since this guy invented the iPhone, or since the smartphone came in our life. So I really think smartphone first, as the speech from Meta was telling, is a really important issue. And I take you through this journey in 3 steps. We start with the first one, which is kind of obvious, from print to digital first. So back in 2007, in the day before the smartphone really started, when we talked about branding, it was a lot about a monologue. So there's a brand that sends some messages and campaigns or whatever, and there's the receiver who sees the brand and who starts to think about the brand, and then the brand exists in the head of the target group. So that was basically the issue. This is also a project that we did at that time, so a really old project, Vorwerk, where you can see it's very print-based, everything looks similar, quite designy and everything in a proper state. And that's how it worked in those days. And it was always print first. So we were talking about SoMo AK colors, about Pantone colors, and many more things that are really from print. And then afterwards, we started to make websites out of it. And it's always difficult. And that these digital guys always said, that doesn't work, what you're doing here. So it was obvious that this doesn't work anymore. Okay, and now we are moving on from a monologue to a dialogue. So it's more like the brand and the target groups are more kind of a partner. So it's about interaction, about trust, engagement, and about relationship. That's what you basically all are doing. So for you, this is something that's maybe not new, but for a branding agency, this is quite a big deal. So it's obvious that when we talk about interaction, it's always that what the target group can do with the brand. So it's really about an interaction, and this takes place on the smartphone. So obviously we have to design for the smartphone first. So this is what we have to do. This is our device where everything plays on, and the rest is just following afterwards. And print, for example, is really easy to derive from that. So I would say the interface becomes the brand. That's really the place where it really takes place, where the brand comes to life and where the interaction comes to life. Okay, there's a little trade-off. If you think from a branding perspective, it's always, as I said in the starting, it's about differentiation. So being as different as possible. But when you think from a UX or UI perspective, it's always as common as possible that people don't have to learn new patterns and that they can really interact fluently with an interface or with an app or whatever. But the funny thing is we're talking about the same customer. So this is a kind of a trade-off, and we have to find a solution for that. And I think it can go together somehow if we go both as one step to each other. So when we design brands, we are really keen on that it's really flexible what we do, so that we can do a lot of different things with it, that it's really, really simple. We all hate guidelines, brand guidelines that are complicated to use and not friendly. We don't want to have that. So we concentrate on make it simple as possible and always think from an interactive perspective. So it's a little bit like thinking of brand modules that you can stick together like interface modules. And we call that kind of system STRICHPUNKT modular design. Oh, it looks better on the screen. That's good. Okay. And it's clearly powered by atomic design. So the idea of Brad Frost, we transferred this for the whole brand development or for the design part of the brand development. And it works a little bit like playing with Lego. So you can use different design modules, whatever you want to do. If you want to make a duck, you need different elements than if you want to make a robot, of course. And you can always design with the design modules on purpose. I show it a little bit closer. So what are these Lego bricks? What are these modules? These are classic, I would say classic branding modules like colors, logo, typography, imagery, also a design principle maybe, but also elements like interface patterns or icons, illustrations. These are becoming very much more important, and motion principles and also spatial principles if you think about the 3D branding. I go a little bit deeper again. This is one of our cases here. We are the branding agency of the DFB, which is the German, in this case, the German national soccer team. And if you want to do a website, a mobile website, you need completely different design elements than if you want to do a striking post or something like that. But you always take the same Lego bricks in the middle, and then you can design things on purpose for every application that you need. In this case, we use this system to design really a lot of different brands, because the DFB, the German Soccer Association, they have a lot of different brands, and the soccer team is up there, but there are a lot of different other brands that we designed from that. And this is, for example, how this looks like for the national soccer team. In this case, yeah, with a lot more premium, but you can always see this play match field elements from the soccer field. And if we want to do a design for the association, we use the same elements, but in a different kind of way. So we have that flexibility to introduce very different brands. Another example also from us, we are the branding agency from Audi. And when we developed the brand design, we also were very keen that it's as flexible and as modular as possible. So again, when you want to make an app like the My Audi app on the left side, you need very different elements than when you want to make a out-of-home campaign or so. But you also use the same kind of elements. And in this case, it's not about generating different sub-brands. In this case, it's to have a really seamless brand experience. So when you drive a car or when you see an ad, this should all feel a little bit the same, although the touch points are very different. So it's like a design system that you can use from a very small touch point, like in smartwatch, until to the car or to the interface of the car or a website or whatever. And this is how it looks all together. So very diverse, a very modular kind of design system. It's not all the same. It has to be exciting and it has to be premium. In this case, this was the goal when we designed Audi, that it's getting more and more premium. I want to put focus on two of the modules because I think for digital they are really, really important. And the first one is typography. Why is that why is that so differentiating? Does anyone recognize this brand? No one? Ah, okay, it's there. Mercedes, yeah. So I think you're all not type experts, but I guess maybe even a little bit more people discovered that this is Mercedes. And it's very brand shaping, these kind of types. And if you look for digital media, for example, it's a lot about typography. We're hearing talks about media in the morning, so that's a lot about typography. You're reading a lot. So digital design is a lot about typography. So why shouldn't this be important? It's really, really an important issue to shape your brand. And there again, where I can show you some examples. We did a complete system of typefaces for also the German Soccer Association together with Supertype. These guys developed a lot of different kind of types, which are for different occasions. And one is also again for the German national team. This is a variable font where you can which you can apply in different styles, and it can be also used for interactive things. So when you move your mouse over it, you can play with it and generate cool effects about this. And this is how it all comes together if you see the whole branding all together, so the soccer team branding. So type plays an important role, even though there are a lot of images and colors and so on, but type plays a huge role, so it's really, really important. And another example that I like to show you is that we did together with Dalton Mark. It's the delivery. That's the font for DHL and the Deutsche Post, the Posta in Germany. They belong together, and they share the same typeface. And this was made for digital as well. And in this case, it's really important because DHL is all over the globe. So it's in every country in the world. So it has to be very global, and we have to be able to use very different languages with it. And still, it's also very important to use this for digital interface elements, for example. So it has to work for digital very good, and that we prepared some items that it really works good in digital, and that was a big focus here as well. And I think for DHL, it's quite simple. If you want to brand something, you don't need to make it as complicated, because when you just take yellow and red and the typeface, maybe the logo, maybe you don't even need the logo, it's already branded, it's already on brand, and it's that simple. So you don't need really complex rules to do that. That's why type is so important. Okay, and the next one, short one again, is interface patterns. Of course, for digital, this is a huge issue. And for us as a branding agency, this is also very important. So we don't build digital applications or websites normally. That's not our core business. Our core business is to develop brands, but we always think about these interface patterns. And here again, you can see, for example, these interface elements that we created for Audi. And on the next page, you can see them for DHL. You can see that they're completely different. And this is the point where you really interact with the brand. You have to be careful about that. That's the place where you click a button or where you buy something. So this is, of course, really brand shaping as well. And here again, the German soccer team. So these branding elements, these interface patterns are really brand shaping. And so that's why these are really, really important too. And also things like micro animations can really help to improve the interaction, but also help to make it more vivid and more lively, and to really foster the brand in this case. Okay, and I think these are quite German examples. These are apps that I use, but you can see that they have kind of the same kind of system. They have all the bottom navigation bar, for example. So there are patterns that are similar, but still you can really easily recognize the different brands if you use them. Of course, you have to be a user of the apps to recognize them, but then I just help you with that. You can easily recognize the brands. Okay, to sum this up, the interface becomes the brand, and key takeaway from monologue to dialogue. So there's a big change in how you communicate or how brands are thought. Digital, mobile first, quite obvious, and modular design for flexibility and for many more advantages. Okay, the next one is from complexity to simplicity. If you think about a user journey, in former times this was quite simple, so you can easily control the user journey, but today that's not possible anymore. So you have to be careful. That creates a lot of complexity, so difficult word. Complexity, I think that's the right word. It creates a lot of complexity, and you have to be aware of that when you design brands, and you have to really check out that all touch points are in sync with each other. So that's why it has to be simple, otherwise this won't work. And it's getting even more complex if you think that when we design for today, we don't know what will happen tomorrow. It's impossible. So we have to be really simple to fulfill the needs of tomorrow, and even though we have to correct some things, I'm pretty sure, but if it's simple, that's easier to do. And the good thing is that people strive for simplicity. There's this research from Siegel and Gale which says that 55% of the people are willing to pay more for things, for experiences, for apps, whatever, that are easy to use or that are simple, and the loyalty increases too. So that's quite cool. So it's good to be simple or to create simplicity. And this is a very old stereo system from Braun, from Dieter Rams. And you can see that simplicity is also very timeless, so you can use it for a long time. Still, people pay a lot of money for this old-fashioned stereo system, and I think you can also transfer it today. So if you look about Tesla, I think that's the main success of Tesla, that it feels simpler. It's not necessarily the most simple interface of a car; it also has its flaws. But at the end, it looks really simple, it feels really simple, so that's what people want, and that's why it's so successful. That's one reason why it's so successful, let's say it like this. And also, if you think design-wise, also things like that, I don't know if you have something like this in Croatia as well. This is something that helps you in Germany if you have food and you don't know if it's healthy or not, so it gives you a quick orientation, it's easy to use, and that's why people like this, and yeah, that's quite obvious. It's also very attractive to get into the internet on one search field and have the whole world, although maybe people search on TikTok, but still a lot of people use Google, of course. And also in digital, it's also cool to have this continuity thing. So if every touch point is in sync with each other, so that's really great as well, very helpful. It makes it easier. You can start a movie on the go and watch it at home and finish the movie at home. So this is also very cool. And the same thing is happening with design or with branding as well. So if you look at the logos, for example, this is just one part of the design, one module of many, but they are getting simpler as well. And often they are even reduced to a kind of a super sign. So we did the same with Audi as well. It was a quite complex logo before with that chrome finish. And when we started to work with them, that was one of the first things that we did, that we made it simpler, better to use for digital, more prominent. So it's getting bigger, obviously, then as well. Of course, we have to be careful a little bit. Maybe it's funny because these digital brands, they all tend to be a little bit the same sometimes. So when it's really very digital, sometimes it's getting a little bit not too differentiating anymore. So I think we have to be careful about that. But the question is still, is there enough room for differentiation when all brands look simple? And I'm quite convinced that this will be the case. Because at the end, the simple design elements, these are the ones that really differentiate at the end. It's not the complex design system or the rules with measurements or whatever that really differentiate. That's nuts. It's the simple elements that differentiate, the simple design modules. And I think simplicity is also very important if you think about brands in total, because in most cases, business is really complex. For example, this is a coffee company. They're bringing their coffee from all over the world. It's not a project from us, so I'm not too deep into that. But at the end, they bring it together in one little capsule. And that's the moment where you experience India or Brazil or whatever, and you can have this in a coffee. You don't even need a logo for that. It's just the branding itself is the cup, is the branding itself, or maybe this guy who enjoys this coffee obviously. And that's it. So it's really simple at the end. And it's also the case with DHL. So this is a really, really complex business. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. They ship things from A to B, and this is really complex to ship something from one point of the world to the another point within a day or two, and really on point and fully secured. But at the end, for the customer, this has to feel simple. They don't want to care about that, about all that complexity. So that's why the brand has to be really, really simple, and that's what we did here as well. So it's even in the claim, excellence, simply delivered. So there's simplicity even in the claim, and that's why we are keen on making this brand look and feel as simple as it's possible. So at the end, maybe it's not only the logo or the design. At the end, it's the experience that you have when somebody's coming to your house, bringing you a parcel, maybe smiling, having a little chat. And that's the experience where really the brand happens. The interface in this case as well. So simple design creates room for great content and great experience. That's what you guys are all doing. So I think it's really important that brands are simple. And there's this thing. I don't know if you have seen this before. I think it was not of a presentation before, because I was afraid that somebody else has it in the presentation as well, because it's kind of a hot shit right now. So this is basically a little tool here that you can put here. And Humane, that's the name of the company. That were former Apple employees that said this will be the predecessor of the smartphone maybe. And you can basically talk with it. So there's no visual interface at first hand, so it's meant to talk with it. And so the question is, do we still need a visual interface then? So I think there are a lot of questions if you ask them. You need to have a visualization at the end. So when you want to have a route for your electric car, for example, you want to see that route. And that's why they did a real stunt in this tiny little device here. They built kind of a beamer in it so that you can project an image on your hand, because they realized, okay, it won't work to just talk with it. There has to be a visual expression of it. So that's why I think visual things won't go away. Okay, to sum this up, design can be simple and yet differentiating. I think that's the important thing. And the key takeaway is simplicity creates room for content and experiences. That's what you all want to have. And visual design gets simpler but won't go away. Okay, there's still one more left. 7 minutes to go, so that should be fine. Okay, from uniformity to inspiration. I think this is something that is really important for us at STRICHPUNKT as well. So when we talk about branding, we often talk about consistency, so that everything is consistent. And well, sometimes I really like that brand, Lufthansa Group. It's a really cool brand, and they're doing a really great job. But sometimes it's getting a little bit very, very strict. So in this case, you can see, this is in German, but you can see that to calculate the design, it's you have to really measure out some things. And basically, it's just about the thing at the end. These rules are all properly implemented? Can we make a checkbox here? And the question is this really so helpful? First of all, you need a calculator to do a design. And I think that's not really necessary. And in this case, it was just positioning of a logo next to a word mark, or a picture mark next to a word mark. So not that complicated. And really, I would say that hurts. So this is often the perception of branding agencies. Maybe you have had that experience as well, that it hurts sometimes. It's really, they have these strict rules, and what are they for? So I asked myself, is it really necessary that you have consistency like these kind of soldiers, that they all look the same? is this really necessary, and is this really something that you want to have at the end? I think not, because at the end you will create something that is really boring, and we don't want to be boring as brands. We want to be exciting. We want people to touch and inspire at the end. That's what it's all about. That's why brands are there. So we shouldn't do that. And things like that happened a long time ago. So this is an example from IBM from 1981. It's from Paul Rand, famous graphic designer, who did this. It's IBM, if you can check this. So this is kind of a famous thing for designers, I would say, but even non-designers might have seen it before. And Apple is basically doing the same. So they are also playing with their design. They're playing with their logo. This was something in former times it was impossible to play with the logo or to make an interaction with the logo. It's completely forbidden. No, it's not, because you can do really cool stuff with it. And this is something where you really can touch and inspire with your brand. In this case, some examples from Apple. Not our project, to be sure about this, but I really like them as well. So that's what they did, for example, here. But on the other hand, when they talk about, also Apple, when they talk about accessories, they're consistent in a way. So in this case, it makes completely sense, because when you're on a shelf and want to buy an accessory, one of those quite expensive accessories, you have to navigate through them. So that makes completely sense that it's consistent here, or that it's in a certain kind of system. And that's fine too. You can do both. So it's more about coherence than consistency. I think that's more important. It's more about being coherent in the sense of the brand. What is the brand identity and what do I want to express, rather than are all rules perfectly implemented. This is not important at all. This is also an example from us, from the guys in Berlin. My Toys, that's the digital brand, and this is a very vivid design as well. It has some kind of coherence, consistency, whatever, but it's very playful, and it's for children basically, or for parents that buy things for children. Yeah, it's also with the micro interactions in it, and we have these little monsters or little images here. You can see that the designers had a lot of fun to create all these different things, and that's something that touches and inspires, and that makes fun for you to watch it. So I think that's quite good for parents. Another example also from us is, this is quite of a traditional company. This is an energy company. They are, I would say, part of the energy transformation in Germany. And they're basically founded in the predecessor company in 1937, as far as I remember. So quite old, but they were brave enough to do something really cool, really new. So very playful as well. So it's more coherent than consistent. And yeah, this is how it looks like. So strong illustration styles, strong elements that come together and are really brand shaping, and also, of course, very much made for the digital age. In this case, it's a print example, but yeah, also, of course, made for digital. And yeah, there are a lot of good examples out there where you can see this. So Nike is doing this for ages. They're doing this for a long, long time. They're really doing a great job there. Not our project as well. We would love to work for Nike, but we don't. Yeah, of course, also the digital brands are quite leading here. So yeah, these kind of American digital brands, they really are at the top of this movement to play with the logo, to be vivid about your design, to inspire at the end. And this is also something that I really like. It's like an artwork. It's for the Google I/O, so you can clearly see that it's Google, but it's not written there. There's no logo there, but you can feel that it's Google. And I think that's how brands should inspire at the end. Okay, so what I want to say to you is make use of the variety, because we always realize as a branding agencies that we provide a lot of elements, but sometimes there are only few of them used, and there's kind of a development over time that the people tend to use just a tiny little part of the whole possibility. So I really can encourage you to use a lot of variety and to make it inspiring, because this is what it's all about brands. Okay, that's about it. Shaping brands is so much more than just the visual part. I was talking about the visual part all the time this day, but it's also about the strategy, that it's the core of everything. I didn't want to bore you with that part. And of course, the product can be very brand shaping. If you think about Audi, or the behavior can be brand shaping. If you think about DHL, somebody's coming to your door, bringing you the parcel, or the communication. Maybe if you think about Sixt, I don't know if you have them here. I think you have them here as well. The car rental. So these elements all come together and shape the brand. And I was just talking about the visual part right now, but yeah, that's another keynote. Okay, to sum this up, from uniformity to inspiration, be focused on coherence, not consistency. Identify fit instead of identity fit instead of brand fit. That's more important. Differentiate by emotions, and use design to touch and inspire. That doesn't mean to ignore the brand rules. Okay, the future belongs to the brave. That's our claim. Let's say it like this. I'm finished with my presentation, so thank you very much. And if you have further questions, don't hesitate to contact me.